What's going on, guys? It's your friendly Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy, back with another video. This one is going to be kind of my 2021 like Apex Legends wish list, and also some things that I think would really help improve the game moving forward into the new year, and good ways to bring the player base up and bring in new players and actually have them feel comfortable. So I'm gonna have some stuff playing in the background, just like the end of some ranked games that I've been playing recently on stream. And yeah, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the first thing, and I think the number one thing that I've been talking about on Twitter and on stream and with multiple people, and I've actually started to see other streamers bring this topic up, and that is a mastery tier system. So essentially some sort of, other games have this, other games have some sort of system where if you play something enough or you have enough success in some field, you get some sort of reward. So my version of that for Apex Legends would be something along the lines of if you get 1,000 kills with the R301, then you get this bronze skin. If you get 5,000 kills, you get this silver skin. If you get 6,000 kills, 10,000, whatever it is, you get this gold or platinum skin or whatever it is. And then if you get this many headshots, you get this gun charm that matches this, and something along those lines. Just a way to bring the player base that kind of left the game for other games out due to boredom and not really feeling like there's anything to grind for. Give them something to bring them back and make them want to actually play the game hard for hours and hours a day, as opposed to just get on, play for 30 minutes, get third party 10 times, get pissed off, and then get off and never play again for the next week or 2 weeks. I think the mastery tier system would be a really good way to encourage players to come back to the game that we've all been playing since day one and know to love very, very much. The next thing that I would really like to see in 2021, which is possibly the most important thing that I would like to see in 2021, is more competitive play support. So essentially that just being something along the lines of custom games for everyone, or at least more availability to custom games, because I know a lot of people that don't even know what a custom game is or how to get into it. I think that would open up a lot on the content side. It would make people want to create more content for Apex Legends. It would open things up for the competitive players. It would give them the availability to run their own scrims in-house, or possibly run strats against other teams, just like 3-on-3, and kind of work on their team fighting abilities and work on rotations and how the ring closes and other things like that can be really helpful at the top level of play. And then another pretty big way, but I don't really know if this is even viable, to support the competitive community is to raise the prize pools for these tournaments. You've got some teams, like the team I was coaching was running, I think 5 out of the 7 days a week, they were running a tournament, whether it be ALGS, E-Series, Nerd Street Gamers, whatever it was. They were running all these tournaments, playing multiple days over the course of weeks or months, just to come to the end to a $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 prize pool. You're talking about spending a good 80 hours playing a game just to hopefully win. And if you do win, you're only really earning about $250 per person. So you're working double of what a full-time work week normally is, and you're only getting paid about $200 to do so. It just doesn't really equate, and these guys have been grinding this game hours and hours for years now, trying to become better and perfect their craft and play at the highest level, just to get there and now be told that the most money they can make, even if they're the most successful gamers in Apex Legends in a year. I think the highest paid Apex Legends player was iShiny, if I'm not mistaken, from last year, and he only made $30,000 a year. $30,000 in that year. Now that sounds like a lot of money just from playing video games, but considering that's what a lot of these guys are trying to do is their full-time job without any other income, that is next to nothing. It's hard to sustain, especially when you're talking about they're the most paid players in Apex Legends are only making about $30,000 in an entire year when they're consistently placing top 3, top 2, and winning tournaments all the time. That's the small prize pools that they're pulling away, and it's something that's hurting the community on a deeper level, and it's keeping orgs from wanting to invest more money into them because they know they're not going to get the money back out. Another thing is a little bit more transparency. I think the devs over at Respawn, they do a good job of kind of feeding the big content creators they started doing these early plays for content creators and letting them release the content maybe like a day or two before the season drops or whatever it is. And their dev streams are nice, but they only happen once every 3-4 months, so it doesn't really give us too much. And then by the time the dev streams come out, we usually already know all the information they're talking about. They're pretty much just reiterating what we already know in the patch notes or in the trailers or whatever it is. I think the transparency could come in a way of having community interviews or community like city councils and things like that, where maybe top content creators or competitive players or something could have some sort of public interview or public discussion about things that they want and things that Respawn's working on. Because without anything to be hopeful for the future, every Apex player right now is just grinding the game, hoping that it gets better, hoping that the devs are listening to them, hoping they have some idea in the works to drop more content, but not actually knowing anything. So having some sort of transparency, not to the point where you're leaking everything so that nothing is a surprise, but just to the point where we actually know what we're in for and we know that our grinding now is going to pay off later on down the line. That is definitely a big thing that I think needs to happen for this game's success. And then this last fix, this is kind of, I guess you take it for what it is, but I really do think that there needs to be some sort of addressing of the skill-based matchmaking in Apex Legends. Now, right now, skill-based matchmaking is all over Twitter, all over, Reddit and everything, because Warzone is now experiencing SBMM, and they're starting to understand on that game what it's like to be forced into skill-based matchmaking, game in and game out, getting these top-tier lobbies where you're competing. You have to sweat at the fullest when you're just trying to have a good time in a public match and play against players of all skill bases, whether that be the #1 player in the world or a guy who just picked up his first Xbox ever and Apex Legends is his first game. Now, the reason for that, I don't necessarily think that SBMM is the devil like everyone else does. I think that it has its place, but I think to the extent that they're putting it out there, it doesn't make sense. So why have a ranked playlist where you're specifically put against players at your skill level? It even says it in the game mode, and they have a tier system that you can clearly see and you know what you're going up against when you get into the game, and also have a public match playlist, duos, trios, where you should be paired up against anybody, just randomly selected to get thrown into the match, and you hope for the best, expect the worst type deal, where you could get, like I said, you get the #1 player, the brand new players. That way you're almost always guaranteed a brand new experience. You're not always going to just get those sweaty 3-stack TTV Preds since Season 0, flying at you with Bloodhound Path Wraith and just destroying you, or third-partying super late or something like that. You get the new players, you get the great players, you're being challenged, but you're not being overworked, and that way you can use public matches, play for 2-3 hours, have a good time, go for clips, go for content, do whatever, and then transition over to ranked, so that you're competing where you think you should be competing, and you can put that sweatband on, you can hike those tryhard pants up, and you can actually get in there and start really pushing yourself to the max and getting better at the game. I mean, honestly, I think maybe none of these things will happen. Maybe the transparency will get a little better. We've already seen some improvements. I don't think the mastery tier system is ever going to become real, but I'm going to keep preaching about it no matter what, because I think that it's one thing that could be so helpful to the game and its player base, and help bring people back to where Apex was, Season 0 when it was at its prime. So this has been your favorite Apex Legends coach, Ninja Cowboy. Sorry for the short video, but yeah. Peace.